All righty. I had another thought. What was it? Oh, it's gone. All right. Let's get started here today. There are two action items, integration items that I encourage you all to do, and I love you sharing your why nots, what's been getting in the way. We're going to be talking about those today, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I want to say I love workshopping on the call. So James, you just being like, hey, can I just talk this out? Very
I actually
perfectly
love that
promoter of
too.
you. Yeah, it helps. I think everybody helps me as well. Number one, to understand your thought process, but also a lot of things you speak to, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm behind you on that. I think all of us can take a different approach there. So I would love to know how we can encourage each other to think through things more on Marco Polo, reasonably so. But I really enjoyed that. And I just want to say thank you for your gumption and your vulnerability, but also just like, I'm going to do it. You didn't have to do it, but you did. Like none of us have to do the momentum assignments. My hope is we've chosen into this and we're choosing to do that. But that's where that's at. So just great job. We're going to be talking about the momentum in the actual work here today. And I want to go back a little bit to the theory of where this came from. I want you both, and I know Jen's not going to be here today, just by the way, if we're cruising ahead and you're like, where's Jen? She's not. She's going to be watching and recording. If ever I'm sharing a tool and you have a question of like, where did this come from? Where did you get this? James, I know that you've asked me before. I love that. Let me know. And today I want to share a little bit of the background of the lever of life. That way you can have a little bit of the insight of where it came from and how I assembled it. All right. So today at the very end, we have our mastermind. And for the life of me, I don't think I actually wrote down who volunteered to do the mastermind at the end of today. I think last time I made the mistake and just called on somebody different. Michelle, you did the mastermind last time.
Jen did. I can do it this
Jen
week.
did. Okay, good. So Michelle, just kind of planting that seed at the very end, I'll have you do the mastermind.
Love it.
Which brings us to coaching boot camp. And by random choice.
Oh no, it's me. It's been so long.
It's been so long. So let me get my timer up here. I have two. A or B?
B.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. So assuming we are through a positive review, all right, let's do it.
Hi, Doug. Well, thanks for your positive review. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Such exciting things happening. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you want to work on today, my friend? What can I do for you?
Okay, so basically, I'm in the middle of setting up this big course right now, and there's a lot of things that I'm really focusing in on. One is this Frank Kern course that I'm working on right now. It's in advertising, which is really overwhelming, but it's really good. I've got to create these simple content videos and test them out into the audience. Basically, at $1 a day, I'm finding my ideal audience through Facebook advertisements. And it's a little overwhelming because I'm so much in the world of Facebook advertisement and Instagram advertisement, I'm clicking on all of these ads that are coming to me through Facebook and Instagram. And I've now become the ideal client for anybody who's looking for a coach who's interested in expanding their business. So that's all I now see on Facebook, which is complexing things, James, because now I see how it looks perfect. And because I like to do things perfectly, I'm seeing all these wonderful ads directed towards me, and it's putting me a little bit in the gap because I'm still learning here. And even though I've got this new mantras, like just get something good enough down, I still have this tendency of perfectionism. Like I want it to be perfect the first time, and it's just not how this thing goes. So here I am stuck trying to like experiment and follow the system. Meanwhile, yesterday I was in a funk for 24 hours. And I couldn't quite place why, and I finally discovered why is because I'm inundated with all of these ads, and I'm kind of left in the gap a little bit because I'm focusing in on the perfection, but yet I'm not quite there yet because I've got to learn. So I've got to be.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't understand what you mean by like you're in the gap. There's a couple of words that I'm not huge with marketing, so I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from here.
Oh, this is cool. In fact, this is going to be a good coaching tool. Anytime the mind has a way of seeing what we want out in the destination. You know, let's just assume like before you bought your house, I want to buy a house. I want to be a homeowner. But yet I look at where I'm at right now. It's like, okay, well, I'm renting a place. And my mind tends to look at the disparity between I'm in a place, I want to have a house. And when we focus in on what we are not, we're stuck in the gap, as I call it. As opposed to if we look at how far we've come, it's like, okay, wow, I've moved out of my parents' house. Like that's actually celebrating what's being accomplished right now. I mean, you can look all day long. It's like, I don't have enough money coming in, or I can say of how far I've grown. And so I look at all my learning experiences, and yeah, I've learned a lot, and I'm really grateful. A buddy of mine just is now starting a 13-week coaching program, and I'm really glad I'm just not starting. I'm glad that a lot of the groundwork is fit out, but this is the challenges. I've got all of this stuff on my bubble map, and I just really want to get to that. And which reminds me, so real quick,
hold on 1 second, my friend. I'm trying to follow you. You are going a little bit quick for me. My question is, I know there's a lot going on in your mind right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Is the gap issue the biggest thing that you feel like you're struggling with?
Well, okay, so I was talking to my buddy yesterday, and he was basically talking about this is the hardest part of your business, is that growth pinch point. And I was sitting there. I was actually in a Starbucks by myself, which was awesome, doing some work by myself. And I just was thinking, okay, if this is the hardest part here, what's the next spot look like? And for me, it just reminded me of when I was running marathons. It's like there's always this point in which you're kind of hitting a wall, right? When you're hitting the wall, it feels like that's all you're experiencing. And for me, it's like, okay, the last 24 hours, that was a little bit of my experience. Like, oh my gosh, this is impossibly challenging for me. Like, is this even really what I want to be doing? And so like, it's that same idea is like the marathon, you're at this point and maybe the support vans are passing by and you're thinking, should I flag that one down and just like hop in the van and be done skis? Sure. And I can't even tell you, one of my hardest marathons I did was up Ogden Canyon. Up Ogden Canyon, like it was raining from the moment we started. I have never said so many curse words over the span of 5 hours because there was an ounce of my body that was dry. I mean, I was wet from head to toe and freezing. Like I couldn't feel my feet during most of the race. But it was that only time I feel like anytime I've been running, it's the only time I've ever felt like I just got to flag down the support vehicle and just call it quit skis. You know, nobody's at the finish line waiting for me. No one will know. But for me, it's like, okay, is this, that pinch point and how to push through that pinch point is really challenging. But I did, I finished the race. And so, and I remember at the end, it was just.
Yeah, that's what you do. You're really good at finishing your races, right? So my question is, my quick question is for you. What do you need right now so that you don't have to flag that support van? Or how could you, like, what's another way? How could you also receive support if you need it, but still finish your race?
Well, gosh, that's a good question. Okay, time out. Good job. All right, James, how you feeling?
That's one that I struggle with. I have a client who does that.
Does what?
That does what you did, where they just keep talking and they go in. I learned it from another coach. It's called when they get into story mode.
Yes.
Where they're just, yeah.
I wrote this down. This is the client who wants to tell the long version of the story. You only have an hour or a half hour to work through things. So let's talk about what you did well and then break it on down. Michelle, what did you notice that James did well? Because that is actually common depending on your client. Like you'll have that client who wants to tell a long version of the story. So what did James do well?
I loved that he was like, can I ask a question? Like getting more information on something specific that you were speaking about. He listened well, and he also was like, well, this is your strength, but let's talk about what we can focus on in this moment. Like, what can we do in this moment? Like really trying to get you to focus on one thing and trying to identify with you the most important thing to focus on. and kind of being that interrupter to put your brain back to, okay, what's the one thing?
Yeah.
So I thought that was like super good. And asking, what do you need right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good.
I think right there is one of your great silver bullets in those instances is scatter, 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 story, 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 long, scatter, 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 scatter is, okay, where can I insert in a question? Because the question will stop their mind or slow their mind down or redirect their mind. And then the quality of question, I thought was really interesting that you interrupted with a very easy question of defining a term. Oh, you just brought up something I didn't understand. Which is not like, hey, stop your story for a second so I can actually like catch my breath. It was, oh, wow, I'm genuinely interested in a part of your story that I don't understand. So can you tell me what that means? And I thought that was a great creative question. And then the final, like nail in the coffin, that final question, are like, hey, let's talk about what you need to focus in on right now, which put me, as much as my brain was like, okay, try to find another tangent, try to find another tangent.
You did really
my brain
good.
was now
you
already
were amazing at that.
Thank you. I was already just so occupied by this question that my brain couldn't let go. James, what did you notice you did well?
There's got to be a balance there. That one was a little bit hard because I knew exactly what you were doing for the role play. And so like I knew that in this moment, I was like, yeah, okay, this is what I need to do is I need to like step in to be a good coach. It's hard because I like to listen, you know, so it's easy for me to sit back and just listen to, you know, where people are at. I think you did a great job of being over dramatic with it. People aren't always as scattered. At least my client isn't as scattered as that. But like I said, I think there's a balance. There has to be an element of listening as well as an element of the interrupter, right? Like it's not a bad thing when you're trying to help your client, you know?
Mm-hmm. You bring up a really important distinction, in my opinion, between a beginning coach and a pro, is the pro understands that, no, it's my time, it's my season right now to listen to them. And where in my early days, I was always like, yeah, inside, like, and then there still is a little bit of like okay, we've got to do some work here. But more often than not, I'm thinking, well, this is their time.
Right. They're paying us to do whatever they want.
Yes. Yes. And it's about striking that balance of, it's also my job to help them to feel like we're progressing and moving forward. That's why I think well-placed questions are important. But I remember in the early days, for years and years and years, like panicking, being like the shoulds, ought tos, and have tos of, we have to end this call with me proving my value, versus now the season of like, cool, let me listen to their story. Let me take notes. Let me gather about this. And let me also feed back what I've heard near the tail end. And then asking them, okay, well, what do you want? And there's times too where I've just said, hey, cool, like this sounds really therapeutic for you. Is this working? Just to kind of share your story.
Right.
Because I love listening to it. And
right.
Is this where you want to go today? You know? And so I just like that. It's a challenge that's very real. And I remember years and years like, oh, put myself in such panic mode of like, the long version of the story. Because then I felt like, well, if they're occupying all this time, then I have to give them bonus time. And it's like, no, it's their time. And
right.
Who's to know that we're not the one person who's actually willing to listen to them?
Right.
I actually have one of my clients right now who I know that because they trust me so much, I get to hear things that nobody else gets to hear, that they just need to let out, especially because this person's a director. And here is like, I have found somebody I trust that I can rely on. Let me share. And so it's a fine line. It's an interesting line. Back to Michelle, final observations and thoughts here. And then James, I'll give you the final word.
One of the things that I thought about while I just listened to you wasn't necessarily about James, so maybe more of a coaching thing, is recognizing, well, it's probably because I recognize some of my own patterns in that. Like when I get in overwhelm and trying to figure out, you know, then I start distracting myself. Like, oh, I went to Starbucks, or I was, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, okay, it's also sometimes if you let them talk long enough, an opportunity to see some patterns, to bring that into the light and say, okay, I see you wanting to talk about all of this. How is that also a pattern for you? And, you know, in part of that overwhelm is you're adding all this other stuff instead of focusing and helping identify that pattern that might be a pattern for them, or asking questions that help them identify if that is a pattern for them.
It's insightful. Like what they are sharing with you is a coaching opportunity for you to just learn from them and identify, wow, this is what they do. Not only the talking around things, but also what they're talking about is also teaching.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So just listening in. Yeah.
Yeah. James, final words.
Tools. Because again, like I said, I have a client, my one client that I have right now does this a lot where he goes into story mode. And I do feel like it's helpful. So if I could say tools is like interjecting good and quality questions, that's a good tool to use there.
Yep.
I think the other tool for us is active listening. Are they telling us anything else in their story other than just what their story is about, right? Are they telling us anything about their behavior? And then 3, also being upfront and open is like, hey, I like this story a lot. Let me pause you just for a second. Is this what you want to do today? I'm more than happy to listen. I'd love to help you through this. Or is there a specific thing you want to focus on? Yeah? Does that feel good for you guys?
Yep. I would say the emphasis on the third, like break in case of emergency, is that third tool. And I've had to use that. Wait. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I just want to make sure that this is where you want to invest your time. And then a half step of this tool, if I could add one more like pinky tool, is cool. In the 15 minutes we have left, you know, tell me, how did this conclude? Or in the 5 minutes we have left, or in the, before we move to more.
Yeah, if we're getting closer. Yeah, I got it. That makes sense.
And I like the heads up there. Now, what I don't want from either of you to feel like, because I brought this up, is that when you and I coach together, that you can't share stories. And maybe I'll even mention those, like, cool, in the time we have left. That's not the case with any of y'all. But
I actually thought that this was about me the whole time. I was like,
no.
Is he, did I do that?
Role playing me?
That's what I don't want, right? I don't want this.
It's a great impersonation of me, Doug.
I mean, all of that was true to my life, right? I just like magnified and embellished upon it. Yeah, like, please don't feel like this is you, or nor that you can't tell your story. Like, let me take good care of you. So that's my thought there. All right. We already did a little bit of business with Coach Lee Grow Academy, upcoming events and attractions there. Pretty cool. And so let us jump into session 4, Lever of Life Part 2, just to cover a little bit of what we've covered thus far. And once again, you have access to the recordings of these trainings, as well as the slide deck for these trainings to go back through.
Thank you for adding those, by the way.
Yeah, great suggestion, James. Great suggestion. Many people will thank you and not even know who's to thank because of that. Real quick background story: 7 steps to results. It came from a framework from my own mentor. So my own mentor and I have been working together for years now, probably 8 years now. And he has got a long history of owning his own business, as well as hypnosis, as well as setting up large group events, and even as a coach himself. But he is more of a theory guy. And I really appreciated that, because he takes his theory, brings it to the table, and then I say, great, let's make a system out of it, and I'm going to apply it to practice. And so he brought this structure of the don't want, do want. And this was basically a growth model when it comes to working people through a hypnotic state. And I don't really remember all of the aspects of the original model itself, but this is where we added in my critical piece of, well, safety was always a big thing when he talked to me, is you got to have people feel safe, especially in hypnotherapy. Like, you can't have somebody in a room without them feeling fully safe, and for anybody to move forward. So safety piece came into play here. Don't want, do want. I don't know if I've shared with you, and I think, James, you've asked me personally about this, is based off of a model that is, it's based off of a model that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger talked about. Is, if you want to understand how to be successful, figure out how to be unsuccessful, and just don't do that.
Figure out how to ruin your business, I think, is what he says.
Yeah, and there was actually an original mathematician out of Germany who, or a physicist who talked about this in the realm of math and physics, is like, find out the ways not to solve a problem and you will find a clear path to solving the problem. And so from that, on a coaching aspect, myself and my mentor, it was always about like, hey, what don't we want? And once I started incorporating this into my coaching, first and foremost, my consultation, don't wants all the way, right? Don't wants help them to sell themselves on the goal. Because for years and years, Michelle, you'll remember in Power 90, we'd start out with Power 90. What's the goal you want? Cool, awesome. What do you want? And people typically told us goals that they should want. I want to lose weight. I want to get healthier. I want to make more money. I want to, and it took 90 days to figure out that that was the goal that they actually didn't want, that they didn't really want. But it was cool because mission still accomplished, because it took 90 days to figure out like what they actually wanted. And then they got to take that 90-day program and apply it in their own personal life again and again and again personally, and to apply that for themselves. And I realized don't want in my own personal practice actually helps people to figure out what they do want faster. I mean, I'm working with executives. I'm like, great, what don't you want? And it's fascinating how much we get down to an emotional level. So when we talk about what they do want, it's nothing like what somebody may have told me if I just said, hey, what do you want? And then strategy seems pretty obvious as a coach. Our job is to really get into strategy. And if you're not doing it as a coach, like, you want to be doing that, like helping them bridge the strategy to create some safety. Michelle.
So I just have, the don't want part of it is a struggle for me, doing energy work and recognizing vibrations. Like, I personally avoid the things I don't even bring into my energy field, what I don't want, because I know that can attract it. So that piece of it for me initially was a struggle until I knew, like, once I identify that, then I can be radically focused on the do wants. But that piece, just so you know, like, there might be people out there, if you're an Abraham Hicks listener or anything like that, that was like, I don't want to focus. I don't want that in my energy field.
Yeah. So that's a really good thing to be conscientious of, because somebody like, wow, we're starting to talk about coaching and we're starting with a negative, like that can rub people the wrong way. James.
I also found that it's also with people who I don't want to coach. That's a good teller for me of like anybody who's like, no, I just want to focus on the negative, or not focus on the negative at all. I just positive. For me, I had at least that one experience. I had an experience when I did an interview of like, I don't even know. And that for me was like, if they're not thinking about, it was that one experience again. If they're not willing to think about the don't want and like see the full picture, then we're not gonna vibe, and that's okay. That just doesn't fit my coaching style, right? So that was a cool thing as well. I don't know why I brought that up. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
No, it's great to weed people out if that's not your style. And then of course, I mean, all of these things are suggestions. I like to frame it up, and if again, you got to pick your style too, because Michelle, sometimes I think maybe that modality of don't want's not going to work for you right out the front of the gate for you.
It can, because it's identifying and saying, once we know this, we have so much clarity on what we are focusing on. It takes out these details. And so we're going to just spend a little bit of time here and more time in this piece. And that's how you balance it energetically and vibrationally.
I love that.
I like
and
that.
I think setting the premise of the conversation is critical when it comes to don't wants and do wants, is what I'm hearing from you, Michelle.
Yeah, it's balance in all things.
Yeah, it's like, hey, because one of the reasons why I use don't want is somebody shared with me, I read it somewhere, that the key to your truth is to that which pisses you off. Forgive my harsh language. But I mean, we think, I know, we think we're the kind of person that we dream up in our best times. But if you want to know what your truth is, find out what gets your goat. And whatever the opposite is, probably your value system, you know, or what you're afraid of showing up as, depends, you know, with the judgment mirrors and so forth. And so sometimes I'll say, in my questioning, like, hey, you know, normally I ask people what they do want. But first off, I'm going to find out what don't you want, so we make sure we can avoid that through our coaching journey here together. And my favorite questions here are, man, if I were to bump into you 3 to 6 months from now in a restaurant, and I asked you, how are you doing? What is it that you don't want to tell me is true about your life? What would you be absolutely embarrassed that you would dodge into the bathroom to avoid me so you wouldn't have to mention? And it, for whatever reason, that one question has become so palatable for people that they're like, oh my gosh, and they'll go into like this, this, and this. Like, great, awesome. So what do you want? Meaning if we were bumping into each other 3 to 6 months from now, that you would cross through a crowded restaurant to talk to me because you were so excited to share with me what is now true in your life. And that question seems to really soften this experience than really hammering the negative. But that's, and again, it's all context. We want to put it into context. Of course, strategy, so much of our strategy can be about avoiding what we don't want.
Right.
Like, how do we avoid that unhealthy confrontation? How do we avoid those distractions? How do we avoid the thing that's pulling you off of the path of the do want? And then safety. So everything lever of life is about safety. If they do not feel safe, they cannot move forward to commit. And I listened to something in a training yesterday that talked about selling. The classic sales is, let me convince you of a product. But the way of long-term sales is, let me help you convince yourself of the product. Because if I convince you of the product, chances are tomorrow you can unconvince yourself about the product because you just bought in because of what I told you. But if I actually help you to convince yourself that this is the goal you really want and that you latch on and you feel safe about it, then you will stay committed for the duration of our coaching. You will be sold. Versus if I'm like, hey, let's pick a goal, let's pick something big because you're investing in this way, versus, hey, what would be just absolutely terrible for you? Like, would it make sense to fix a goal on that? And what would that actually do for you? How will that feel? And I want to put you into that emotional state that you're like, yeah, I want this. And they make that decision. And not only that, but there's no there's no hidden boogeyman hanging around the corner waiting to like push them off the path at any given moment, right? So safety is a really big piece along the path of our coaching journey, as well as each and every coach call. When we sense in our gut that we've lost psychological safety, like they're kind of like, and we know that because they may be procrastinating in resistance or in self-sabotage mode, there's something they're afraid of, then there's a safety challenge. Even the point that I'm talking in the long circles about things says, oh, wow, that person feels unsafe about something, and maybe there's something they're afraid of, or maybe they just don't feel safe, and now they feel super safe with me, and now they're just like, blah, 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 you know, on and on. So this is, the lever of life is helping to resolve safety before we actually move to commit. Do you want to pick this goal? Is this really going to suit you at this point, right? And if it's not, be willing to say as a coach, okay, let's change it.
How do you identify the difference between not feeling safe and it just being out of the comfort zone? Because most goals, when they're really spectacular goals and you can feel in your heart that that's it. Like for me, my goal, I'm like, this doesn't feel safe. There's a lot of things that could go wrong here. But I also recognize you're just uncomfortable. This is unfamiliar. How do you
help a client
determine this is unsafe versus unfamiliar and, out of the comfort zone?
And that's where we get to really inquire about the client is like, I want to stretch you. That's my job.
Okay.
I do not want you to snap though. But strategy is your key. Safety and strategy. As a coach, you want to be doing this. Boom. Oh, okay. Let's get back to strategy.
Okay.
Boom. Okay. Oh, we don't. Okay. Let's get back to strategy. That's why I build bubble maps right now ferociously for myself, because I feel unsafe a lot of the time. But I know what I want, and it's not easy. I'm learning a lot of things. So I go back to strategy so I can feel safe-ish. And this is where, again, depending on the quadrant I'm working with, is, hey, does this strategy make sense? In doing these things with your lifestyle, are they more likely to get somebody to a goal that you want? Yes. Now, is it going to stretch you? Yeah, I'm freaking out. Cool. And I have your back. But at any moment, it's like, I'm freaking out and I'm resisting. Like, I know that I've pushed them too far if they're in resistance, procrastination, or in self-sabotage. Okay, cool. Let's go back to your strategy. And I love James. Let's just talk about, what do you got to do next? What do you want today? That's a perfect safety reverse to strategy move. Wow, he's spinning. Something's going on. What's a good question? Okay, well, what's most important to you right now? Now I don't have to eat the whole elephant. Let's take one bite. And so It is strange because I don't know what the person is capable of. And that's why coaching is so challenging. Man, if we want to make incredible amounts of money and sell products online, we follow formulas, great. We don't have to deal with people. We automate the hell out of it. But that's not what got us into our field. Or what got us into this field is the maze that is the human psyche that we get to go in and navigate and help somebody to travel through that. And it's unpredictable. So we get to be limber, you know, we get to just assess that and follow our gut. So to answer your question, is safety strategy is a great tango that we're always going to be repeating. Safety, strategy, safety, commit. Action. Oh wait, action is stopped. Let's go back to commitment. Oh, they're not committed right now. Let's go back to safety. Oh, they probably don't feel safe. Let's go back to strategy and rerun it again. Strategy, safety, commit. Cool, they're committed again. Action. That's why I love action items every time you talk to your people. And I only in the last 3 years have I been started to ask my clients which of the items do they want to commit to. I've always said, okay, great, these are your assignments. Get on you know? And then I realized why they're the ones who I'm going to call to accountability afterwards. Why not ask them? And it takes sometimes a couple visits with a client for them to feel safe enough to say, no, that doesn't work for me. And I celebrate that. Like, oh, you know what? For whatever reason, let's not do that one this week. Ha, awesome. You trusted your gut enough. But it does take a while. And I'm very conscientious of that, you know, with my new clients. Like, I'm going to suggest something and they're going to say, I want to do them all. I'm going to do them all. Okay, cool. That's a win for you. Michelle, what did you take away from that? The question is like, how do you gauge the difference of the client who's, it's a wrong goal and it's just stretchy?
I really like when you go back to strategy, it's like, okay, the strategy is the safety net. If you're not safe here, even if it's stretching you, like I just think of like being up on a, you know, what are they in the circus, the trapeze, like that's not going to feel safe to anybody. But the idea is, oh yeah, but there's a safety net. So the falls might suck still, but you're still going to be okay. We're still going to stretch you and we're going to climb back up the ladder and figure out what we did differently and try it again. And so when you said like you switch back between strategy and safety, like even in my own mind, like I procrastinated accountability because I was like, I don't know. I didn't feel safe. Like I put that off so yeah, that makes sense that we're just, okay, we feel safe, so we're going to try that. And if it wasn't, we're reassessing and re-strategizing and going back and forth constantly until that safety net just feels like, yeah, I can do this because it's so secure.
That's a great analogy too, because strategy is one, things and also people. If I can place people who they feel safe with in their life, they're more likely to climb up to that trapeze. And safety gets exposed through the lever of life. If you want to find out if they feel safe or not, this is the tool that I apply. These are the questions I apply, what we've been talking about. So let's talk about safety. Michelle, now your bronze level is a website created with 3 pages, an about me page, a foot zoning page, and a coaching page. Silver is all of the bronze plus 2 to 3 soul swag products. Your gold is all the silver plus some kind of online calendaring tool and 10 products on your website. How are you feeling about your goal?
It's perfect.
Right?
So much love. Damn,
why are you laughing, cool. James? Now I'm thinking it's not.
No, I'm laughing at the I won't tell a story, but my laugh is like, wow, this is awesome.
Okay.
I won't tell a story. I'll tell a story over Marco Polo, but
cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I do think it's the perfect goal for you, and it's
so
stretchy.
Perfect.
You've already talked about that.
Love it.
And for that reason, it is perfect. I love it. James, your goal is 2 clients, 3 clients, 4 clients. How you feeling about it?
No, that's not my goal anymore.
Thank you. All right. You changed that on Marco Polo.
30 minutes of research. I don't know where I did.
Sorry. Nope, you're right. I grabbed the wrong part of my notes. 30 minutes of research. Okay.
Silver's 2 clients. Gold is 3 clients.
Got it. Thank you. That's why. Cool. I love it. Awesome. How you feeling about it?
I'm feeling good. I don't know how. I don't have the strategies necessarily. I don't know like what, but
right now
I'm here. I'm showing up.
Strategies on bronze. Focus on your strategy on bronze for now.
Right. Right.
And then I would love to have a conversation of what I just left on Marco Polo. Is a little bit long, is law of the universe. You've got to plant seeds. Now, how you plant seeds has got to be unique to you and fun.
Right.
It doesn't have to be, what anybody else does, but you've got to find the way to plant seeds, because again, the law of the universe is you cannot be in a cave and attract clients without some kind of action that puts your face into the world of where your clients are. So, but there's so many different ways of doing that. And I would love to talk about that more. Cool. So once again, lever of life, imagining that there's a stop button and a go button. And anytime somebody's in resistance, it's not only that the lever is suppressing down on the stop button, but that there is an elephant of emotion and weight, especially if they're new to the work. They probably have this elephant size like resistance here on the stop button. Our job is to, one, help them see this elephant. Because for some, they're either ignoring the elephant in the room and they just are pressing down on the green side of the lever as much as they damn well can. And every now and again, they're like, again, our director and promoter folks, they're like, I can do it. I can do anything. And we get it down. And the moment we have a bad day, we go, or we look at something different, or a family member needs us, what? And it goes, poof, the lever goes back. And now we're like, every time I try. And so we just got to take a look at this. My clarifiers and supporters are just like, I don't want to look at it. It's too overwhelming. I don't want to go after it. Instead of mumbling through, we're just like, ugh. So we got to really just look at this, the won't power inside, summarizing the stagnation and death, or the why not side of lever of life. This is why questions that conjure up, hey, what are you getting by staying the same? And this is going to be one of those things, Michelle, that you're going to want to put into context, because it's like, no, some people are like, no, there's nothing I get about not moving forward in, no, I get my story. I get to keep the trauma and the comfort zone of the trauma. I get all of that. And the biggest thing, present payoff, is we get to be right on how we were wrong. And until people understand this is the present payoff and are willing to let go of that story, it makes it really hard to get that elephant over the other side. And also looking at what are your fears of going after the goal and also getting the goal. Because there's two things. If I travel down the path, and I used to tell this story, Michelle, you'll remember this, of the old, I don't like scary movies, don't love them. It's not my jam, but I love spook houses. James, have I shared with you this story?
Like haunted houses?
Yeah, haunted houses, yes.
What the frick are spook houses, Douglas?
Maybe they're the Idaho version, or when I grew up on spook houses.
I knew what he was talking about.
I've never heard that term before.
Maybe it aged you.
Yeah, it probably did, yeah. But there's always a part of I always have this thing, if somebody goes to the haunted house with me, I'll tell them at the beginning, like the moment I cross over this threshold, all chivalry goes out the door. I don't care. I will push, I will shove, I will stay back. But that's part of the journey of going with me. If you don't want to go with me, you're going to have to go with a different group. Like that's what happens. So enjoy the journey. And, but there's always a part of the haunted house in which there's this long corridor with mannequins dressed as spooky characters, right?
Yep.
And that at least one of those mannequins is a real person, right?
Yep.
But then there's also a part of the haunted house that always has the chainsaw sound in the distance. Somebody's hiding around with the fake chainsaw. So this is like their goal is they get down to that part of the corridor and it's like, what might I encounter along the way? What scary thing is actually a real thing that might scare me? And that will actually prevent me from going down the hall. Like there's times where I'm like, I hear the chainsaw and I'm like, I'm done. I'll stay here. Pick me up when it's light outside. Like that's all there is to it. But worse is the haunted house is when you get to what you think is the end and there's more scary people there. So not only am I scared to travel the path, but what if I get to the end and it's not over? So what if I lose all the weight and I gain it back again? What if I gain clients and then I lose them? What if I, build this website and it's the wrong product? What if I invest all my time and energy in an online course and nobody wants it? It's that fear that keeps the elephant stuck on this side, and it's very real, and they're very well justified, but they will keep us in old patterns. This is the elephant that will say, squirrel, I'm gonna go get on Facebook for a bit, or go do laundry, or whatever, or I'll be very productive in other areas of my business. It doesn't really necessarily move the needle. So that is.
Can I insert something here? I refuse to go to haunted houses. I went to one and I kept thinking, what if somebody murders me and everybody else thinks it's part of the show? Or what if I witness a murder and I think it's part of the show? This fits in with the lever of life. Like, what if I'm getting slaughtered and everybody's watching and they just think it's part of the show?
Safety, even the possibility of that thought, safety goes out the window. Out in Tooele, one year, they're like, hey, we need a haunted house that people can actually touch you. And you sign a waiver. And I was like, why would I want that? Like, I'm trusting a strange company that just popped up a tent in the middle of the city that their crazy, deranged people aren't going to touch me. And I trust that much, let alone some weird hospital that they've opened up for people to actually impact you physically. No. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
What if they're murder clowns that are not part of the business? And they're there.
You wouldn't know. Nobody would know. It's like, hey Phil, is it your ship? Oh yeah, it's my ship.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gross. I hear you on that.
I love haunted houses.
That story is so fun, but it's also very real. Like those fears are real in the hearts of our clients. And so what's stopping us? What's the biggest carrot? James, what's the biggest carrot, present payoff for not growing, doing your 30 minutes of research and growing to have 2 clients? Let's just go that far. Biggest carrot. Yeah. How do you get rewarded?
I get to conserve my energy.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely chill on ice, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Good.
That's Michelle, a really big carrot, actually, because I just got like, oh, I really like that.
Yeah. And this is the cool thing about this sheet. If your client says, no, that's super important to me, great. We either get really creative with your goal or change the goal. It's not the right goal for you. And some
My question, James, is what if that is actually following your heart? You mentioned that you're experiencing some depression and stuff. Like, so as a coach, how do you determine that actually something to maybe help you heal or come out of that state it would be better for you?
I like that.
Sorry, Doug, I'm just asking, like, it's something that, how do you coach that?
Oh, so yeah, I see what you're saying. So like, if they're like, I think I see, you're asking me, but also as like a coaching opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I think if I understand the question, what Michelle's asking is like, what if they're like, yeah, this is really important. No, that's not my goal. But you as like, you can kind of see as like, well, but that could be something to help you get out of where you're at.
Yeah.
What do we do? What do we, like, if we're just like, but you, like, because Doug, you do this to me so much, or you're just like, but James, you can do so much. And I'm just like, nah, Doug, I'm good. How do you coach to that?
Okay, can I be really annoying?
Okay.
The lever of life. Because here in a moment, we're going to go to shift to the why side. And if their why outbalances their why not, they will sell themselves on, all right. But if their why not is bigger than their why, let's pick another goal. No harm, no foul.
Okay, got it.
This is where we're going here. And that's part of like my 30-minute consultation about getting people into this course. Let's find out if they have a why and if this really fits for them and aligns with their life. If it's not, this will be a hellish 13 weeks. And not awesome for me because I have a 30-day money-back guarantee. I want to reduce that as much as possible. So, but the same thing with our goals. So think about, I love the co-coaching. I endorse that all day long. I think this is powerful. And so again, my annoying version of the answer is let's investigate and help them to sell themselves on whether this is the right goal for them as well. And this is the challenge is it's not what I want for you, it's what you want for you. And this is so hard as a coach. It's like, I just want so much for you. But it's not our goal. It's not our job. And that can be hard. That's why coaching family can sometimes be a bit challenging. Or you just got to detach from it, you know, like, no, I'm a coach.
Yeah.
Let me out. Michelle, what's your biggest carrot, would you find? Like, what's your present payoff for not building this website? Let's talk about that. Putting products on the website.
Saving money.
Yeah.
Oh.
And there are a lot of noble carrots. Like, I get to spend more time with my family. I can't tell somebody like, well, too bad, because you're going to have to let that up. Right? That's why I really love this question of how are you getting rewarded? Of the things that are super important to you, like they're going to rate each one of these things that they get. If there's something that's higher than a 6, ask them, okay, cool. How can we arrange this goal so you still get to spend the time with your family you want and proceed? Help their mind fall into and land. Because this is something new to my coaching style, is where before it's like, too bad, there's going to be sacrifices. Let's go. It's only 13 weeks. Let's do this. No, let's figure out and land. What's another way? There's thousands of ways to get to your goal. And this whole process, quite going back to the history. So my mentor shared with me and the prior business just the lever of life as a business model. Great, as business, you got to figure out what you're getting, carrot and stick. You didn't have present payoffs, future fears, all this stuff. But he had carrot and stick on both sides and said, basically, if the business gets more carrot and stick over here than it gets over here, your business doesn't grow. So what do you choose? And so when him and I started working on my business and coaching model, we produced this process out of that basic model. It was like, great, what are the questions? How do we like rip these out? How do we get, and one of the things that was really a cool aha was, instead of just how are you getting rewarded, great, you have to give those up. No, let's talk about the things that are really important to you and how do we make this goal enjoyable, that you are in joy through the journey. Because if you get to the finish line and you are like, I hated that, you are not likely to do that again. A case in point is a Spartan race my sister had me do about 3 years ago. At the end, I was certain I would never want to do one again. That's because the flesh was opened up and torn open on both of my hands. So that was part of the problem.
Eek.
But that, sorry for the visual there.
Worse than a haunted house.
I'm actually far enough around that I might actually do it again. But it was so hot on the course that one of the last exercises I did, the bar was melting people's hands. And by the time you get through it, what you think was just strain from going was actually pain. So it's a terrible analogy. Let's move on to the stick.
Oh my, ugh.
Gross. Okay, what's the stick? Our future fears. So Michelle, for you, what are you afraid you might have to do that you don't want to do in order to get this goal? What's the boogeyman down the hallway that you're afraid?
Part of it is just having like inventory of stuff that I've purchased that I've spent the money on it. It's not selling. And so I've got all of this, which means then I'm concerned about like, well, am I making the right choices for my customers or for the people and then it's a revolving cycle. Now I don't want to buy any more because I didn't do this right. Now I've got inventory and
how scary is that 1 to 10? If 6 months from now, you got a bunch of swag.
It's a 10.
Okay. How can you create safety in that fear and mitigate the fear as you move forward?
Earlier, when you said what's another way, I found a website that is specific companies that I can buy wholesale from. And I thought, what if I just ordered the minimum amount from them, which some of them is just like one piece, but I actually did I don't order more from them until I have an order come in. Like, like the whole drop ship thing, like, okay, well, I just had an order for that. So I don't have a huge inventory that could waste.
Yeah.
I just have purchased one. So the investment is minimal. And then I just order new pieces as that one gets sold.
How does that feel right now?
Better.
That's cool.
So much better, right? There's a lot of different ways you could do that. It's for me, if somebody said, Doug, I'll pay you $10 to go through the spook house by yourself, I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do it. Not worth it. But amongst family and friends that we can all laugh about it afterwards, okay, that can create some safety as long as I'm in the middle of all of the I'm not at the end. If I'm at the end, I'm grabbing onto your hoodie like for dear life. James, future fear. What are the costs? What might you have to possibly invest or sacrifice in order to invest 30 minutes every week, add more clients?
I'm thinking like, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about the hallway or are we talking about the end?
Because ultimately it's going to come down to this. What is the biggest thing? Because it could be the thing that's at the end or it could be the hallway. What's your biggest? Like, no way. What's your biggest monster?
It putting strain on my family.
Okay, nailed it right there.
Yeah, like taking away from other things that already I have to do. Like I have like my family, and also my day job. I can't quit. I have to, So it's like it's the balance, and I am there it is. I'm afraid it would throw me out of balance.
And this question here, I don't know if this question is going to be solid for you. How can you create more time and energy? It's like, no, I don't have any more time and energy.
I don't have any.
Yeah. So this is where this box and these pages, there's a lot of questions on them. And I will tell people like, nothing coming up. Cool. Let's move on. Because they're really, it's designed to help the masses. So you as a coach can now just like cherry pick questions. This is where I'm going to be like, okay, cool. How can you create more safety and mitigate some of that fear? So you don't throw off balance. You have a fine line, James, that you have to travel. And this is where I'd be asking like, cool. And this is where I'm like, hey, let's just focus in on your bronze for now. Forget about your silver and gold. Let's just get bronze under your belt. And then let's reevaluate silver and gold, like let's create safety in that way. All you have to do is make it through the Hall of Mirrors, which there's no monsters, but there's just mirrors and it's weird. So let's get through that first. And then we'll assess the next glow in the dark floaty things,
Yeah, honestly, the safety for me, something that helps me connect to higher self is intrigue, learning, curiosity. And so that idea of moving the lever through education, that's a huge safety piece for me. I don't have to do it, but I can learn about it all day long, right?
Yeah. Yep. And through that intrigue, then we can start talking about, okay, what do you want to experiment with a little bit,
Right.
And have some fun with that. And ultimately, sometimes we just have to muster through the fears. Sometimes you just have to do like I did, put on my hoodie and just beat it past the guy with the chainsaw and then say, I'll see you at the end, everyone.
I would love to go to a spook house with Doug. This is, that is on my bucket list now.
The same thing I have for people who go on roller coasters with me. You sit next to me, you're going to hear some curses. My mama wouldn't be proud, but it's just part of the deal. When the thing locks down and it lurches forward, I'm already in instant regret. And you'll hear about it, I promise. Lever of life, on the growth and life side, this is where we go into the negative results by not changing here. And I love these because then we start getting leverage. There's sometimes for some people it's cathartic to be on this why not side, because it's like, oh good, I get to tell you all the reasons why I'm justified in my current stance of being stuck. But then we move to this side and it's like, ugh. What's it costing you by not setting up this website? What's it costing you by not living in your passion of coaching people? What's it costing you by not expanding to an online course you can support more people? Who are you ripping off by not selling Soul Swag? Who are you ripping off by not exposing them to their inner superhero? Like imagine you had the thing for them and they've been searching for it. But what's the present negative result that's keeping us from there? And we really just want to dig, and there's a lot of digging questions here. So some of these are some of my primo questions of just really digging deep. When you're like, ugh, no, I can't do it any longer, that you've got some movement, that we've broken through some psychological safety and there's some passion in there. Because if the cost of staying the same, like let's fast forward 3 months, 6 months, how much is it going to cost you to continue carrying around this anger and this resentment? What's that going to cost you long term, And that's what these questions are designed to do. Real quick, Michelle, what's it costing you 3 to 6 months from now if you did not have any website up at this point? What might be the negative result?
The negative result would probably be some mental wellness issues, just because I recognize that when I'm not living on purpose and in my purpose, that I start ruminating and looping thoughts in my brain about my value or what I have to offer. And so also I'd probably be storing a lot of that energy in my body. I already so since I let go of foster care, I've got tennis elbow, which is just about what I have to offer. And
Whoa.
I know it's going to stick there until I feel like I am offering the world something again. And I came to that recognition. I did a foot zone last night, and it's like the 7th person who's come to me that's a counselor, a trauma counselor.
Whoa.
And she said to me, you know, in our office, you're being called the healer of counselors. And that made me like, I'm on purpose,
Wow.
I'm in purpose, because
Trademark.
yeah, like it's something that I was like, oh, wait, what? Like, I don't even recognize. It was powerful. So I know that if I'm not on purpose, that I'm going to feel it in my body and in my mental wellness.
When you're comfortable, I would start adding that to some of your descriptions, meaning I counsel counselors.
Yeah.
I coach coaches. That's where I'm at. You know, that's what we do here. So if you're somebody who wants that level of expertise, whether you're a coach or counselor or not, you definitely want to use some of the modalities that I'll share with you. That I think is awesome. James, what's your biggest stick? What's your negative result for not moving forward? What's it costing you?
It's interesting because it's actually the same. It's like the idea in my head is like, no, but I'm currently out of balance, and doing coaching is something that feeds my soul, and so it would bring me more so into balance. And so it would, the stick is, you would continue to be out of balance if you don't.
Imagine you had 3 coaching clients right now and your life was still in balance. How would that feel?
Awesome. So good. It'd be cool.
Now we just, boom, like you're already scratching this way, and I go right into that. Like, tell me about the goodies, rewards. And I would go into all aspects. Like, what would happen? How would it feel in your relationship with Jessica as you maintain 3 coaching clients and still balance and time with your family? What kind of parent would you be? What kind of friend would you be?
Yeah.
And that's where we get into this. Michelle, 3 months from now, you've got an online business and you've just had your 10th sell. How is that going to feel?
Honestly, pretty awesome.
Yeah. And better yet, it's automated.
Yeah.
Like, simply you write a personal note, drop it in the box and send it. And that's pretty much all you have to do at this point. What would you know is true about yourself? Like, all of these things. And it's basically, how can we magnify this why? This bottom section is like, how do we get these feelings sooner? Now, the thing is people can emotionate using their imagination to put their emotion into something they want. That's what I call it, emotionating. And getting your clients to emotionate for a brief moment until we get to the end. And this is my golden question now. It's full circle back to James, is I want to be hyper chill. I don't want to do something hard. I will ask 2 questions, and this is not written down anywhere. So this would be a great thing to note. Cool. Are your present payoffs, what you're currently getting, better than what you would get if you were to move forward in this goal? That's question number 1. And then I'll ask them, actually, let me ask that. James, are your present payoffs of staying in your comfort zone better than what it would feel like to have 3 clients and a life in balance?
Nope.
Okay, so now we have some leverage happening. Because if he says, yeah, then I'm like, cool, let me ask one more question and then we'll look at things. Are the boogeymen down the hallway, the possibility that one's actually somebody in the suit, actually those imagined fears, are those worse than what you are currently experiencing or would experience if you never move forward? Can
you rephrase the question for me?
Yeah, you bet.
I got lost in the spook house.
No, I know. Sorry. I'll come back for you. I promise. I'll send somebody for you. It's a little girl. I'll send in there for you. Are your current negative results, are your future fears really worse than what you are currently experiencing day in, day out? Meaning, how scary are those boogeymen really?
No, it's the same. So, like.
Okay. Cool. So those are the same, but still the same. And so this is where I'll evaluate, like, no, the future fears, the possible risks are higher than what I'm currently experiencing right now. Then, okay, cool. Let's either chunk your goal down or we change your goal. It's not the right goal. And hopefully by don't want, do wants, we're a little closer to their goal by this point. But if we're not, then this process would really evaluate. So we're comparing carrots to carrots, stick to stick, asking them and checking their level of motivation on this goal. I can be scared to death, but still have why. You know what? It's the right goal for me. I don't know how in the hell I'm going to do it, and I'm scared, but I know I have to do it. I know it's in me, and it needs to come out of me. Does that make sense? And I'll tell my clients, scared is okay. Absolutely shut down. That's not where I want you to be. So with that, take a nice deep breath in. Captain, oh Captain, what's your current challenge you're currently facing? And let's put it through the mastermind machine.
The thing I'm currently facing now is ways to put products onto my website without over investing and having a ton of inventory if they don't sell well, but being able to try products to see how well they do.
And why is that a challenge? Is it the money, the investment?
It's, yeah, the investment, the loss of money.
Okay.
Is it the interest at all? Like if people are actually going to be interested in it, or?
Yeah, like that's part of it. Like, how do I know if that's the part of, like, will it sell? Is it, you know, how do I sell it well? Is it the product or is it how I'm promoting it? All of that together, because I don't. Yeah.
That's helpful. Any other questions, James, for you to understand the challenge?
No, I think I'm okay. I think we'll just go for it.
I am too. Okay, let's head into this. Michelle, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. All right, let's get things going here. I still love the dropship option. I think that is a great possibility. I also love this idea of setting expectations in advance. When you order off of Soul Swag, shipping from heaven, it takes about 3 weeks. Like, set up the expectation that allows you enough time to procure the object and send it nationwide. And most anything you can get within a week with reasonable shipping.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also, I don't know, I like this idea of like putting it in goodie bags, maybe doing like this is the idea of like an interest level. Maybe do like a raffle and just to check to see if like interest is there. Also could help you may not make the money like you're thinking, but I don't know, that's where I'm going. It's like this interest level idea of like, I want people to test it out and then like, how are they liking it? Maybe they do a review. If you liked it, leave a review of this product. You know how they do like Google reviews or Amazon reviews.
I like that. There's a technique I'm learning right now with Facebook advertising. Before you actually advertise, you invest in about $60 to $100 over a span of a week to find out what people are interested in. And this is cool. Advertising for about $100 over a span of 5 days. And I can tell you more about it, but basically you put your product up as an ad and you deliver it to 10 different audiences. And all it's designed to do is seeing how many people will click. And I'm amazed that I had an audience right now clicking on some of my ads called wellness coaches that I thought life coaches are the ones who are going to do this, but wellness coaches is overwhelmingly getting interest in my coaching business in a box. And I'm like, ooh, and what you do from there, the whole theory is once you spread, and I would do a series of probably 5 products and each product delivered to the same 10 audiences nationwide, just as research. It would cost you, again, about $100, but it will tell you which product is going to get the most interest and which group is going to find it most interesting. And Facebook will suggest all of these groups for you, the advertising. And again, I can show you the back end or show Gary and he can like test it out. I'm new to it, but it's fascinating. But what happens after that is then now you know the product that comes out on top and the group that loves that product the most. And now you have data, and simply what the next step is you then just up the budget for that one audience and that one product, and they start clicking. So basically you're looking for the slot machine that has the greatest return on your investment is the whole theory. So like that would be a way to do research. A ClickFunnels is something that is super sexy. ClickFunnels plugs into Facebook advertising.
Okay.
And it will give you the data better than Facebook advertisement. It's rather expendy. I'm going to probably end up doing ClickFunnels, but not until after this first run, because it's like $300 a month just for the technology, something like that. Okay, last couple ideas, because I kind of jeopardized that. Any last final ideas?
Market research, like what would you be willing to pay for this? I don't know. What kind of products? Oh, maybe ask like, hey, this is what I have. What other products would you want to see here?
Ooh, yeah, I love Survey Monkeys are free, so you can have a whole list of products.
Yeah, Survey Monkey.
Which one would you be most interested in and price point? My last idea would be this, is maybe at the beginning, pick 10 products that you can fabricate on your own. That you can drive to the craft store and maybe pay one of your children to It's hard to talk to do it. So that would be, you know.
I mean, they're living with you, or if they are, you know, it's rent.
Right. Rent, right? So that would be one way to keep things really low. Is you'll typically get things cheaper by buying things wholesale than making it yourself, typically, but sometimes the risk is super low. Take it away, Michelle. You've got 30 seconds. What's your biggest takeaway from that? And then we'll do momentum.
I really like the idea of identifying what people are interested in, and kind of my thought too is like, what if I did together, like I just got a little subscription box from a friend and it was like $20, and she had some of her, she sells Scentsy, so she had some of that, but then she had, her theme was fly, and so she had like these little dragonfly trinkety things, like maybe doing this and like giving me a review on it, so, and then that sends to Soul Swag or something. So I really liked kind of combining those.
I love that. And I love that you're creating social proof as the sales piece for later on, because the more people who are talking about it, you put those on any of your website or advertisement, and suddenly you have social proof. That's so cool. Great idea.
Okay, cool.
I hope that's been beneficial to you and just getting
Absolutely.
things going on your subconscious mind. There's a lot of ideas, and again, let us know if we can revisit any of those.
Okay, cool.
Really cool stuff.
Thank you.
Your momentum assignment is very similar to last week, but on the why side. So finish pages 3 and 4 in the Lever of Life. At least I want 3 of your biggest whys. You're going to submit those onto the accountability page. Pick your 3 biggest whys. Whys can be either my present negative results or my juicy goodies. So either or and both if you want. It doesn't have to be 3 of each. Just 3 of the juiciest, like, this is what's pushing me forward because I'm so done with it, or this is what's drawing me forward because I want it so much. And then share on Marco Polo your biggest why and how you're going to choose to magnify your why. Could be a sticky note, could be sharing it. It could be an alarm on your phone that keeps reminding you of what life looks like 3 to 6 months from now because of you moving forward. Once again, submit your accountability before our next training session. Do you have any questions, comments, or threats? Open to all. As always, I love it. So I love working with you and the support that you offer to me and also with the whole team at large.
It might be a really awesome memory for the Farquad to go through a spook house together.
A spook house together.
It's coming down the pipeline. It's coming down the pipeline. That or Lagoon. You guys let me know. I would have a good old time. Especially the cannonball, you know, the cannibal one.
Yes.
I say the F word every time.
We are totally riding together. We are totally riding.